Thank you for joining me for Brain Break. This is Randy. I wanted to tell you a story that's happened a little more recently. Take you up to about 13 years ago. I had just started a new job. I was having some problems with a really badly sprained ankle, but I had paid my benefits through Cobra uh, through the end of the quarter. Of course, once you get a new job, you don't get a refund on that. But I had been getting some work done on that ankle and they decided they needed to operate. So I left all of those insurance costs with my old insurance. I went into the doctor. I was in terrible pain. I was ready for hip and knee replacements. But what he was the most concerned about was an ankle. I was wearing a lace up ankle brace on it. He said, "How long have you been like this?" I said, "Oh, 18 months. He said, "Who are you seeing about it?" I told him the name of the podiatrist. He said, "Well, he's a good doctor. I can't understand why it would take 18 months to heal. I think we need to take a good look at it." I said, "What do you have in mind?" He says, "Well, an MRI." I said, "Okay, yeah, let's do that." That afternoon, he called and said, "Hey, I have an MRI set up for you, and you'll need to go in at 9:30 tonight, and they will take an MRI of your ankle." Okay. Well, he called me a couple days later, said, "I have the results. Can you come see me?" I said, "Yes." So he showed me the pictures and explained what was going on. I didn't have a sprained ankle at all. I had severed two tendons when I rolled my ankle. He said, "How long have you been rolling your ankles?" I said, "I've had weak ankles my whole life, and I've been rolling them consistently for probably 15 years. So this is before I was even 40. So he was quite concerned. He says, "Let's get this repaired." I knew he was a surgeon I knew from scouting. He said, "Do you want me to do the surgery or do you want your podiatrist?" I said, "I don't know. Who has ever done the most of them?" He said, "Well, let me talk to him." So he called me back and he said he agreed that I should do the surgery. I've probably done more of them than he has. I said, "Great, let's get it set up." So we got the surgery scheduled, and it was outpatient surgery. I was to go home and rest in bed for 3 or 4 days. They did this on Thursday, that I'd be able to go to work on Monday or Tuesday at the latest. Come Tuesday, I couldn't get out of bed. They gave me crutches. I couldn't go up and down stairs. My legs were weak. My hands were weak, even for working with the crutches. So I I needed help just to get back for the post surgical visit, so I could get out. Our house at the time was a split level, and that's where you have the main floor on one level, and then you have bedrooms and bathrooms upstairs and downstairs. So unfortunately, we didn't have a bathroom on the main floor. Life would have been easier. In fact, we eventually had to move out of that house because I couldn't get around in it. As a boy, I grew up in the middle of the polio scare. So, what I thought was post polio syndrome, because I'd been diagnosed as having polio as a boy, it was strange because I learned to walk early, but I couldn't run until I was 6 or 7. I always had to do these stretching exercises. Like my friends got to ride these really cool little bikes. I'd ride this big bike because it made me stretch my muscles. It was a cool bike. My dad got it from the LA Times. Newspaper carriers used it. He had it rebuilt. It was an awesome bike. It was called a Wasp, but it was a heavy bike and it was way too big for me as a little boy. So finally, after complaining severely about how I couldn't do anything, I couldn't work, they got me to go see a neurologist. This neurologist specialized in post polio syndrome. And so she tested me for about an hour and a half. And if you've never been to a neurologist, it's painful because what they do is they stick needles in your nerves and muscles and then shoot electricity to see how fast those muscles and nerves react to the electricity. I was not expecting that pain. But she said, I'm not ready to tell you what's wrong with you, but I want you to go see this other doctor, and gave me a name and a number. And so I made an appointment to see him. Again, I'm having to have people help me get out of my house to go see him. I cannot climb the stairs by myself. I can get down the stairs by scooting on my backside, but I can't climb those stairs. So I go see him in a few weeks. He does the same tests. He's a little quicker at it, has a little different equipment, but it's still painful. And he says, I'm not ready to make a diagnosis. I want you to go see this guy. This is like the third neurologist I'm seeing. I'm thinking, gee, I don't want to make a club, out of this. What's going on? He says, go see this other doctor. Well, I do. He does the same thing. He's using a little different equipment. By the way, these doctors were all very well trained and their certifications were amazing. Then they asked if they could meet with me. I went back to the first doctor's office, and the other two called in from Phoenix and explained that I never had polio as a boy, and explained why. Then they explained that I had a different disease and I'd had it my whole life, and it was just never caught because of polio. It was easier for them to recognize that I had polio and treat me that way, and no one else saw this. The disease I have is called Charcot-Marie tooth, and it is a little bit like muscular dystrophy. It's in that family of diseases. My ankles are weak. I've been told by some doctors I have a moderate case, because I meet people that are pretty crippled up by it, but I am not. I still get around fairly well, but I was taught what kind of shoes to wear, and I had the totally wrong idea of the kind of shoes to wear. That's why I was constantly rolling my ankles. The shoes I wore were very comfortable, but they didn't give me any support and protection against rolling my ankles. And knock on wood, but I haven't had a problem since I've been educated. But I belong to a subreddit about this disease, and so many people are talking about, oh, I just found out how horrible, I wish I didn't have it. My situation is totally different, because now that I know what I have, I can deal with the symptoms. I know who I have to see if things get worse. I always would watch TV shows when I was younger, and the question was, oh, do you want to find out what's wrong with you? Well, my answer to that question is, you do want to find out, because if you know, you can deal with those things. If you don't know, you'll always be guessing what's causing the problems. We live in a marvelous time when doctors are amazing. They know more now. I don't know how doctors and other scientists catch up. With the pandemic, I have been out of my chosen field on a full-time basis for 4 years. I've consulted in it, but I can't believe how many things I have to refresh myself on where I never had to do that before. When I'm teaching new people about it, I'm just shocked at the things that are, how much they have to learn to get caught up to what's actually happening in our world. So that's my message to you. It doesn't need to be a bad thing that you find out what's wrong, but rather it's a good thing because you learn how to deal with it. I hope you have a good night. Thank you for watching Brain Break, and I wish you the very best. Please tell your friends about us and like and subscribe. Bye now.